Earth had never been called a reborn hero, and whether praised for his talent or enduring the worst of days, nothing ever changed. The day he met the man who would alter his life forever, Earth shed a tear as everyone he had ever known turned their backs on him. How had things come to this? Earth collapsed to the ground as a girl stood above him. They seemed to have just finished a duel, and she had won as someone announced the result. Around them, the crowd erupted in cheers. That girl was Princess Fiance, daughter of Soldier, one of the 7 heroes. She was a highly skilled swordswoman, undefeated in every duel. Fiance called Earth naive, saying he hadn't yet mastered his magic sword, but that his skills were improving. Earth accepted his loss, addressing her as Princess, but Fiance, irritated by the title, reminded him they were both academy classmates and childhood friends. She was frustrated that he had never beaten her, criticizing his mistakes and the defeated look he wore after every loss. Fiance de Padilla, the royal princess, had always stood at the top, and not once had Earth managed to take that spot from her since they joined the academy together. She continued her rant until Earth overheard 2 girls behind him praising his abilities, expressing their desire to get to know him better. Fiance frowned as the girls gushed more and more about him, causing her to rush over and declare they should give up on liking him. Earth trembled in frustration, knowing Fiance would ruin any chance he had with other girls. Out of nowhere, she asked if his father. The hero was disappointed in him. Earth clenched his fists, bowing his head in silence. Students flooded the hallways, chatting about their test results or complaining about their exhaustion. Nearby, guards quietly observed, disappointed by the shortcomings of the younger generation, though it didn't matter much. Peace had already been achieved. They walked through the corridor until they spotted Earth training, once again after losing to Fazace. They remembered how his father, Lord Hero, had earned the title of hero, a man of great talent. But they couldn't help feeling disappointed watching Earth fail against the 7 heroes. The 7 heroes were the brave souls who saved humanity from the great Demon King, and Earth's father had been one of them. Yet, despite being the son of a hero, Earth's abilities still fell short, leaving him forever in second place. Overhearing the guards' conversation, Earth approached them. The soldiers began giving him the same tired lecture he'd grown used to hearing. They reminded him of his father's great achievements in his youth, and mentioned that, after graduation, Earth would have the chance to train with the Royal Knights. Coincidentally, Earth's father suddenly appeared in the area, leaving him confused since his father was usually too busy with work. His father began boasting about his past accomplishments, even while his son struggled. Finally, Earth interrupted, asking if his father could help him defeat the princess by teaching him swordsmanship from scratch. However, his father replied that he was busy with work, and told him to continue learning at the academy. This didn't sit well with Earth, who knew his father had never helped him overcome the huge expectations placed on him. Despite all his training, he still couldn't beat Fiance. In the end, Earth exploded in anger, accusing his father of not caring about his efforts, and saying that even the smallest praise would have been enough to make him feel better. Earth left his father and everyone around him in silence. He scoffed and began walking away, ignoring his father's calls, never looking back. Earth walked toward his grand mansion, passed through the gate, and turned the corner, where he saw the maid watering the plants. She greeted him with a playful smile, advising him to return to class and teasing him with an unpleasant nickname. This maid was Sadith, who had been adopted by Earth's family when she was orphaned. To him, Sadith felt more like a sister than a servant. Yet Earth always dreamed she might one day become his wife. After explaining why he came home early, Sadith asked if he had lost to the princess again. Earth began explaining that he could drop out of school and still become a royal knight, which he believed was what his father and everyone expected of him. Earth was exhausted from constantly being compared to others, only to end up disappointing them. Sadith, with understanding, offered comforting and encouraging words, saying that people couldn't help but want to witness his growth and hoped he would go far. Earth blushed, knowing Sadith always supported him when he felt down, even though she often had a teasing personality. Suddenly, she said that if he gave it his all, she'd reward him with a special prize, making him jump in surprise. However, Sadith continued, saying the prize was just his favorite childhood dish, omelette rice. She quickly noticed his reaction and laughed, teasing him for clearly thinking of something else. Sadith then swiftly changed the subject, telling him it was time to clean the sealed room for its annual maintenance. They headed to a dungeon-like area near the lake, where weapons hung on the walls and candles lit the way. Sadith handed Earth a set of keys and told him to enjoy the legendary swords, while she went to fetch more cleaning supplies. As she left, Earth stood before the massive door, covered in locks that had been in place since before he was born. Long ago, a great war had shaken the world. On one side, the demon race and their leader, the Demon King. On the other, Earth's father and the 7 heroes who led humanity. In the end, humanity triumphed and the Demon King was slain by Earth's father's sword, which was sealed behind this very door. As a child, his heart would always race whenever he saw it. But now that time had passed. After unlocking and pushing the heavy door open, Earth stepped inside and immediately sensed something was wrong. On the high platform, a stranger was standing. Earth froze, unsure of what to do. As the figure turned around, he couldn't tell if they were male, female, or even human, but he knew one thing for sure: they were a demon. The horned figure recognized Earth as the son of one of the heroes and asked if he could truly see them. Sadith entered the room, curious about what was going on, but Earth immediately warned her about the stranger. However, Sadith saw no one and dismissed Earth's words, placing her mop down. Before leaving to fetch water, the stranger continued, confirming that Earth was the only one who could see them. Suddenly, Earth lunged, grabbing the broom and leaping back, using magic to transform it into a weapon, trying to strike. The stranger acknowledged Earth's attack, but remarked that he was far from being a true hero, which only fueled Earth's rage as he attacked again in fury. However, the stranger swiftly dodged, saying it was useless, as they were just a spirit. Since Earth was the first to see them in a long time, they decided to reveal their name. This demon was called Trinar, the very Demon King his father had once defeated, a name no one in this world didn't know, a name spoken of only in textbooks. It couldn't be possible that Earth was meeting such a being. What a strange dream, he thought, as he woke up and realized he was in bed, with Sadith standing worriedly beside him. She hugged him in relief, as he asked why he was suddenly back in his room. Sadith explained that she had found him unconscious on the floor, right in front of the high platform, but was glad he was all right. Earth looked up and realized the encounter wasn't a dream. Trinar was hovering above him, looking relaxed. Sadith still didn't understand what Earth was talking about, so he let it go, choosing not to explain further. She quickly left to prepare dinner. Leaving Earth alone with the arrogant demon, Earth believed that Trinar wasn't lying about his identity. He asked why Trinar was in the weapons room. Trinar explained that, after being defeated by the hero, his soul had been trapped in the sword for over a decade, and the hero had unknowingly stored the sword away. Earth wondered if he was being haunted by the spirit of the Demon King, but Trinar clarified that, being just a soul, he couldn't interact with the world, and seemed unable to separate from Earth without assistance. Trinar demanded that Earth bring him back into the outside world after being imprisoned for so long. Earth immediately refused, making the demon smirk as he declared that Earth would eventually have to obey and serve him. Earth quickly reminded Trinar that he'd said he couldn't interact with the world, causing the demon to suddenly look sulky. Earth added that, besides, he wasn't allowed to go outside at night anyway. After being pestered by Trinar for a while, Earth finally gave in and agreed to take him for a walk around the city. Earth got dressed and was about to leave his room, but Sadith noticed and asked where he was going. He replied that he was just taking a stroll around town, but Sadith wasn't satisfied with that answer. Suddenly she threw a knife at him, pinning him to the wall, and asked if he had a death wish. Trinar was shocked, wondering if this woman was really just a maid. Sadith said she wanted to take care of Earth today, but seeing him skipping school and still healthy enough to head into town, she decided a punishment was necessary. After a tiresome night, Sadith finally let Earth go, and he headed back to the academy. However, Trinar remained by his side, hovering and observing humanity's creations with fascination. Earth asked what Trinar thought of the town so far, and the demon's answer surprised him. Trinar remarked that society seemed to have forgotten the crisis of the past. The state of the people made him want to cover his eyes. Trinar said that if he were still alive, he would destroy everything in the area. These simple words sent a shiver down Earth's spine, but the feeling quickly faded as the demon dismissed his own thoughts, saying it no longer mattered. Trinar admitted he had lost and could do nothing more now. Earth was stunned by this, wondering why the demon in front of him seemed so different from the bloodthirsty king described in the textbooks. The man standing before Earth had a far deeper perspective, quietly watching the city, seemingly carrying a hint of loneliness. Yet Trinar did have one regret. When he fought Hero and his group, Hero channeled all of humanity's strength into the sword and struck him with a single blow, defeating Trainor with overwhelming power, surely killing him. He was angry for being overpowered so easily. After winning countless battles, Earth tried asking about his allies, but Trainor quickly brushed off the question, making Earth think he had touched on a painful memory. As they continued strolling through town, Trainor noticed an advertisement for a series of books he seemed to recognize and demanded Earth buy them for him. If not, Trainor threatened to whisper in his ear all day. Reluctantly, Earth entered the store to buy the book, talking loudly to Trainor as he walked, drawing the attention of everyone around him. At that moment, Trainor told Earth he didn't need to speak so loudly, especially now that they had reached the classroom. Trainor asked Earth about someone in the class, and Earth told him about Fiance, the daughter of the spear-wielding hero. Trainor was impressed by her quick grasp of knowledge, but especially astonished by the powerful magical aura she had since birth. Earth felt a bit disappointed as Trainor showered Fiance with praise, until the teacher interrupted him by slamming a book on his head to get his attention, telling him to stop staring at Fiance. The class erupted in teasing, while Fiance blushed furiously. As punishment, the teacher asked Earth to name the magical eyes of the world, including the ones Trainor possessed. Earth wasn't confident in answering the question, but Trainor whispered the answer to him. When Earth repeated what Trainor had said, the teacher became angry and told him to stay after class. Earth accused Trainor of lying to him, but the demon replied that the teacher was simply mistaken. Before the bell rang, the teacher's final words were a reminder to Earth that he had to perform at the top level and not fool around in the upcoming match. As Earth left the classroom, he felt the weight of pressure bearing down on him. Trainor inquired about the match the teacher mentioned, and Earth explained that it was the graduation battle, where the top students compete in a tournament to showcase their skills before the king and nobles. Earth was participating due to his academic achievements, but when Trainor asked if he was preparing, Earth simply replied that he was only preparing to embarrass himself. Trainor quickly understood the issue, saying that Earth felt he could never defeat Fiance, or worse, that he thought he was just a disappointment compared to his father. Trainor knew that Earth wanted to rebel against the world, but it seemed he had accepted his fate, like a genius trapped in a well after realizing his own weaknesses. Earth had had enough and told the demon to stop provoking him. However, Trainor immediately shot back, saying Earth would never surpass his foolish father, who only succeeded because of miracles. The remark stunned Earth, who reminded Trainor that he was the one who had lost to his father, and then complained about it afterward. Earth didn't want to hear another word from the demon's mouth, but Trainor didn't like the tone Earth used with him. The atmosphere around Trainor shifted, and his eyes burned with anger, causing Earth to stammer, terrified as he faced Trainor's wrath. Trainor grabbed Earth's face and shouted that the boy would become the proof of his true power. Trainor intended to use Earth to teach him the power that he, the Demon King, once wielded, and to show the world once again his supreme might. He told Earth that the graduation battle hadn't happened yet, and that he wanted to test him. However, Earth immediately refused. With only 2 months left before the match, he didn't believe anything could change in such a short time. Trainor responded that Earth had the potential to grow, but Earth, disheartened, said that Fiance would always crush any effort he made, leaving him as nothing but a failure. Trainor then asked what Earth's real goal was, and Earth replied that for now, he wanted to become a royal knight. But Trainor quickly questioned whether that was truly Earth's own choice. The question stunned Earth, reminding him that everyone had always wanted him to follow in his father's footsteps. Was he truly being himself? What did he really want? Before Earth could reflect further, Trainor interrupted, declaring that they would turn the upcoming match into Earth's victory in the next 2 months. Earth needed to find something to motivate himself over the next 2 months, and Trainor added that even an impure motive could yield the best results. When they finally returned home, Earth set a ladder down on the grass and asked Trainor what they were going to do. Trainor explained that it was a ladder exercise meant to improve endurance and agility, called the magic step. Suddenly, Trainor dashed forward between the ladder rungs, yelling loudly as he landed dramatically, leaving Earth confused. He thought the demon looked like an insect with the way he demonstrated, which offended Trainor. Despite that, Trainor continued teaching Earth different jump techniques, but the boy couldn't stop mocking him in his thoughts, comparing him to a child. As Earth began picturing kids hopping around in a zigzag pattern, Trainor immediately told him to focus and threatened him if he didn't do it correctly. Trainor ordered Earth to perform the jumps as instructed, using magic with each movement. As Earth prepared to begin, he felt like his body wasn't moving as he intended. Trainor explained that the latter exercise didn't just train movement, but also improved stamina, agility, and the use of magic while stepping. Trainor said that Earth would eventually be able to cast spells while moving, but his mistake was focusing too much on the steps. It was normal for the body to lag behind the mind, and if Earth could conquer this, he could synchronize both. A surge of determination filled Earth as he continued the practice. By the end of the day, he was completely exhausted, but also realized that he needed to change, as his physical condition was worse than he thought. Trainor mentioned that after the ladder drills, they'd move on to physical techniques, but Earth asked when they would start focusing on swordsmanship. However, Trainor bluntly said they would never focus on swordsmanship, because in his eyes, Earth lacked talent with the sword. Since meeting Earth's father, Trainor realized that his skills relied heavily on raw magical power, but Earth didn't possess that extraordinary ability. These words crushed Earth, making him feel like all his efforts up to now had been meaningless. But Trainor added that Earth had something his father didn't: flexibility. This was a similarity to one of the other 7 heroes, Earth's mother, the priestess Mamu. Trainor explained that if Earth developed by focusing on his own unique talents, he had the potential to break his own limits. Earth laughed out loud at the thought of surpassing his father, and while it seemed far-fetched, he didn't reject the idea. Feeling energized, he quickly got up and asked Trainor to guide him on the path ahead. Suddenly, Sadith appeared asking Earth who he was talking to. She noticed the ladder and realized he was using it for training. However, she quickly remembered the reason she came and handed Earth the menu plans. For the upcoming month, Trainor whispered to Earth that Sadith had carefully prepared the menu, showing how much she cared about his well-being. Earth felt touched, knowing that Sadith had always been there for him when his parents were absent. It made him realize that his feelings for her went beyond sibling affection. Encouraged by Trainor, Earth decided to confess his emotions. He started by getting Sadith's attention, confidently saying that in 2 months he would win the match, which surprised Sadith. However, as he tried to express what he wanted to say next, he began to stumble, unsure of how to talk about what might come after his victory. Then, in a moment of complete blunder, he blurted out that he wanted her to let him touch her chest. Earth immediately realized his mistake and tried to apologize, but Sadith was far from pleased. However, to his surprise, she agreed, though not very happily. She wanted him to win, so she accepted Earth's awkward request. This left him utterly confused as she walked away. Now, Earth felt more motivated than ever, as if he could conquer anything. But what he didn't know was that in the not-so-distant future, he would become the worst version of himself and lose Sadith. At that moment, Trainor announced that the warm-up was over, and it was time for Earth to fight him directly. In the world, there are 2 standard techniques for physical training. Shadows, where the trainee imagines a potential enemy in front of them and dodges imaginary attacks, and sparring, a simulated battle between 2 individuals. However, since Trainor was a supernatural entity, he combined both techniques and called it phantom sparring. Now Earth would face the demon in a simulated duel. The thought of this thrilled him. Up until this point, he had only sparred at school with opponents who were either too weak or with the princess, making it hard for him to accurately gauge his abilities. But now, he would have the chance to fight a real demon king. This was sure to be a completely new and exhilarating experience for Earth. King Trainor landed on the grass, saying he wouldn't fly too much during the battle. He told Earth he could use magic if he wished. Earth felt confused, unsure if Trainor could actually strike him directly, considering he was a supernatural entity. The demon laughed at Earth's confusion, then grinned widely, informing him of one thing he could do with his power. Suddenly, Trainor lunged forward, aiming straight for Earth's neck. Or at least, that's what Earth thought. He collapsed to the ground in shock, his trembling hands clutching his neck. Earth was in disbelief, truly thinking for a moment that he had died. Even though there was no pain, the sensation still haunted him. Trainor stood there, amused by the sight, mocking Earth, asking if this was all the son of a hero could endure. Those words filled Earth with rage, and he charged forward, no longer patient, trying to strike Trainor. Trainor wasn't impressed with the attack, but Earth had another plan. Earth aimed to make Trainor focus on his punch while secretly preparing to kick him. But suddenly, Trainor pointed a finger toward Earth's eyes, making the boy stop instantly, feeling as though the next step would lead to his death. Earth jumped back and raised his hand, releasing a lightning spell, then stomped hard on the ground, causing a small earthquake with his magic. However, Trainor vanished in that moment. The demon floated in the air and softly landed behind Earth, sarcastically praising his smart attacks before switching back to direct strikes. He complimented Earth's use of Earth magic, noting that Earth was stronger than lightning. However, Trainor wanted to use this opportunity to teach Earth a lesson, and he charged at him, ready to show his true power. Elsewhere, Fiance woke up, her mind swirling with thoughts, especially about what had happened with Earth that day. She had just dreamt of nostalgic childhood memories, where little heroes led her into slumber. A knock on the door interrupted Fiance's thoughts, as a servant entered, saying there was a letter for her when she saw the symbol on the envelope. She gasped in surprise. The story shifted back to Earth, lying exhausted on the grass. While Trainor informed him that they would spa like this every day, along with ladder drills, Earth was frustrated that he couldn't land a single hit on Trainor, even though the demon was only using basic human physical techniques. In his imagination, Earth had died countless times, with each failure slowly eroding his confidence. He had always prided himself on thinking he could overcome anything, as long as he could defeat others, even though he could never beat Fiancés. Trainor asked if he was feeling desperate, but Earth denied it, saying he had only just realized how truly weak he was until today. Suddenly, a thought popped into Earth's mind, and he asked Trainor how his father had managed to defeat him. Trainor snorted, mocking Earth's ignorance, as the boy tried to explain that his father was always busy, and whenever they talked, it turned into lectures about the past. The demon asked Earth if he ever truly listened to those stories. Trainor explained that the path to becoming the hero who defeated the Demon King wasn't an easy one, and that it was a story Earth should learn from. To Earth, his father had always been the source of his insecurities and frustrations, but Trainor wanted him to see his father from a new perspective, that his wisdom could change everything. Hearing this, Earth began to wonder about the pain the previous generation had endured. He told Trainor he wanted to know more about his past, if he was willing to share, and how humanity had defeated such a powerful demon king. The next day, Earth headed to school, weaving through the town's streets. His legs still felt heavy from the previous day's training. Trainor seemed disappointed they couldn't start learning forbidden magic that day, and Earth now understood that there was still a long road of training ahead. As Earth was walking, someone called his name, and he noticed Fiance standing by a market stall. He quickly greeted her, adjusting his tone and calling her by name, mentioning how odd it was to see her in town, as she usually traveled by carriage with an escort, but today seemed different. Fiance held a cup in her hand and Earth, curious, asked her about it. She was about to explain, but then realized the cup was empty. Scrambling for an excuse, Fiance made up a story, saying she'd heard about a delicious juice from the stall, and the cup was empty because she'd just finished it, not because she had been standing there all morning waiting. She quickly changed the subject to avoid more questions. Fiance stepped beside Earth and suggested that, since they had run into each other, they could walk to school together. However, Trainor could see what was really happening. On the way, Fiance asked Earth about his plans after graduation. He replied that he didn't have anything special in mind. Fiance continued to remind Earth that the upcoming matches weren't just simple simulations. Important figures from neighboring nations would be attending. She also mentioned that she was soon to be announced as the next queen. Then, she asked if Earth knew how she felt about that. Earth confirmed that he understood, since as a princess, Fiance was expected to one day rule the country. He also admitted that their goals had become different since they were young. His current motivations were certainly different from hers. Fiance blushed and asked Earth if he really looked at her in class. Earth casually nodded, not thinking much about why she asked. Suddenly, Fiance declared that she would win the graduation match and announce it to the people. Earth was surprised and lowered his head, remembering that in the past, he would have surely wished her luck and encouraged her to do her best, but this time he apologized and told Fiance that he would be the one to win. The final training session had helped him realize his true potential. He wanted to show his real strength not just in front of Sadith, but to everyone. He also wanted to uncover the truth about his father's past. To do that, he had to win. When Earth told Fiance that there was something he couldn't give up, she suddenly asked if it was a confession of love, making Earth blush in embarrassment. Not wanting Fiance to find out about his agreement with Sadith, he hastily agreed with her question. Fiance blushed even more and said they should both fight their hardest in the upcoming match. They smiled at each other, while Trainer watched, knowing full well that they were thinking about different things. Still, he knew the battle between them would be interesting, so he kept quiet. Suddenly, excited cheers erupted as Earth and Fiance approached the school gates. As Earth gradually regained his confidence and honed his skills, he realized he had forgotten something important, or rather, some important people. Fiance wasn't the only obstacle he had to face. There were two others Earth was worried about, and they had returned to the school. Many years ago, when Fiance and Earth were still children, Fiance was studying at her desk when she heard her name being called from outside the house. The woman beside her told her to focus because it was study time, but the voice called out again, prompting young Fiance to open the window and leap out from the windowsill. The woman rushed outside to see what was happening, only to find other children and recognize them. One of the boys had used magic to prevent Fiance from getting hurt when she jumped. Those boys were Earth, Fu, and Rival. The woman warned them that the princess was studying and they must not disturb her or she would report it to their fathers. Earth and Fu quickly grabbed two branches and stood in front of Fiance, saying that what they were doing was also considered learning and they would never hand her over. The woman warned Earth that he couldn't become a hero if he acted like that, but Earth insisted she was wrong. He said Fu was the best mage, Rival was the best swordsman, and Fiance was the best spear wielder. Earth once declared he would surpass his father and become the strongest hero in the world. Sadith had walked in and joked that he should defeat her first. That was just a story from Earth's childhood, when he was surrounded by close friends, believing that one day he would have the strength of his father. Back then, he never doubted anything, but now reality hit him like a heavy brick. Trainer asked what was going on, and Earth explained that the two who just arrived were also children of the 7 heroes and his childhood friends. Rival Janine was the son of the Swordmaster, and Fumidai was the son of the Grey Mage. Fiance explained that they had written letters informing they would return after studying abroad. Trainer was curious about the study abroad program, and Earth explained that it was a tradition at the school where the top 2 students had the chance to study abroad. Fiance had declined, allowing Rival and Fu to take the opportunity. Rival and Fu greeted Earth and Fiance as they approached. Rival teased Earth, asking if he'd gotten any stronger while they were away, making Earth feel insulted. Fiance asked them about the troubles she'd heard they encountered while studying abroad. Fu calmly explained that they had faced a flock of fire dragons, and that both he and Rival fought them in a suppression unit. The two proudly showed their medals to the girls around them, and cheers of excitement filled the air. Trainer noticed the difference between Earth and his 2 friends. As the children of the 7 heroes chatted, another student suddenly asked Fu to show the strength he'd learned during his time abroad. Fu walked over to some targets and told the students not to expect too much, then began chanting a spell. As they watched the magic, everyone wondered if it was just a low-level spell, and what would happen if Fu used his full strength. After finishing the spell, Fu asked the students if they were disappointed, but they replied that it was amazing. Earth grew angry, feeling that Fu didn't realize his true power. While Rival wondered why everyone was so surprised, the long-haired man told Earth that both he and Fu had returned from their studies with absolute strength, and that Earth would never be able to defeat them. Earth, angry, said that Rival was being too arrogant by merely showing off Fu's magic power. He asked Rival what he had to brag about. Suddenly, Rival's sword, still sheathed, was at Earth's neck, and Rival was behind him before he even realized it. Rival declared that displaying his skills in front of academy-level students was a waste of effort. The long-haired man asked Earth if he knew why both he and Fu had ended their studies abroad early and returned. The reason was that Rival and Fu had declared they would enter the royal tournament and win. They weren't just the children of the 7 heroes, destined to inherit their father's legacies. Their goal was even higher, to surpass their fathers and claim victory for someone special. Earth realized that not only was Fiance competing in the tournament, but she was also eager for the fight. She stepped forward and said she wouldn't give up the victory. Rival stared at her, fully aware of her strength, and declared that this time, he wouldn't lose. Suddenly, Rival knelt on one knee and said that if he won the match, he wanted to be a candidate for Fiance's hand in marriage. Everyone, including Earth, was shocked, while the female students at the academy cheered excitedly. Fiance admitted that she only saw Rival as a friend, but Rival said he already knew that. He also revealed that he knew who Fiance truly had feelings for, but he still wanted a chance to be seen as a man. Earth stood by, unfazed, understanding that the world would not object to this marriage. Deep down, he only wished them luck for the future. Trainer suddenly interrupted the conversation, calling the scene pathetic and telling Earth that not even Rival could defeat him. However, Earth wasn't confident, saying there was no way he could beat Rival and Fu, who had grown so powerful after returning from their studies abroad. The demon laughed, knowing full well that fighting fire dragons, using high-level magic, and simply studying abroad was child's play. Trainer told Earth that the children of the 7 heroes would be shocked to know he could defeat even the Dragon King of the underworld, a creature only X-level magic could handle. Earth was confused by this new information, as he had never heard of it before. Trainer explained that in just 2 months with his guidance, Earth would gain more skills than Rival and Fu had learned throughout their time abroad. Trainer wanted Earth to trust him, because now he was the disciple of the great Demon King, who once nearly conquered the world. Suddenly, Earth regained his composure and joined the conversation, catching Rival's attention. He boldly declared that he would be the one to win the upcoming tournament. Rival and everyone around were surprised by this statement, but Earth knew he had no choice but to give his all and prove his abilities. Trainer told Earth that he would guide him, and Earth asked if this was a contract with a demon. Trainer dismissed the idea and told him to announce his goal to everyone. Earth did just that, confidently declaring in front of everyone that there was something he couldn't give up, and he would surpass Rival. Rival understood Earth's challenge, and the two prepared to face each other. However, unexpectedly, the female students began cheering for Earth, leaving him confused, as he thought they would mock him. He couldn't read the mood while Fiance knelt on the floor, covering her ears and face, blushing with embarrassment. She misunderstood the situation, thinking both Earth and Rival were confessing their love for her. Fiance believed that what Earth couldn't give up was her. Fu, standing on the sidelines, didn't know who to support, as both Earth and Rival were his childhood friends, so he chose to stay neutral in this conflict. Earth, now completely bewildered, looked around and realized the chaos he had unintentionally caused. Rival glared at him with anger and frustration, clearly displeased with Earth's awkwardness and the strange situation they found themselves in. After everything settled down, everyone entered the math class. Trainer stood observing the teacher, mocking the lesson, calling it low-level knowledge for a class meant to train the Empire's elite. Earth thought the demon was simply criticizing the curriculum, but Trainer explained that he found writing out mathematical expressions and solving them unnecessary. Trainer insisted that as long as someone understood the system and how to apply it, they could just substitute numbers and perform what he called automatic calculation. Earth, confused, didn't understand the concept and asked Trainer what it was. The demon replied that it was better to practice than explain. With the intent to help Earth grasp this new magic, Trainer prepared him to take the next steps in learning how to automatically calculate. Trainer instructed Earth to draw a magic sigil on a piece of paper. Earth followed, and then Trainer guided him through a spell he was about to teach. Earth softly recited the incantation, and immediately his hair began to rise, while equations started floating around him. This was a spell Earth quickly mastered, one created by Trainer himself. Earth picked up a quill, ready to write the answer, but then realized the answer had appeared on its own. He was puzzled until Trainer explained that the spell would automatically solve any formula the caster referenced, saving time. Trainer called it X-Kale. He continued rambling about his magical inventions, but Earth started focusing on the fact that he could use this magic in the graduation exam and pass it easily. The teacher then asked Earth to come to the board and write the answer to the problem of the day. He got up, walked to the board, looked at it with a blank expression, then used magic to solve the problem, quickly and accurately. As Earth began writing the answer on the board, numbers and equations flowed through his mind and body, filling him with strong confidence. He decisively swung his arm back, feeling like there was nothing he couldn't understand. The teacher looked at the board, silently watching as Earth returned to his seat. But then, the teacher called Earth back, asking him, "Where are the intermediate steps?" Both Earth and Trainer were stunned, not knowing how to respond. The shock made Earth want to shout, while Trainer remained silent, realizing that his cunning teaching method might not fit Earth's world. Suddenly, Earth found himself in a completely different environment. A vast, white, empty space, with nothing in any direction. He asked Trainer in confusion where they were, and the demon replied, that they were inside Earth's mindscape. It was a kind of virtual reality illusion, a type of magic Trinar had invented. It forced the user into sleep and allowed the summoner to control the dream at will. From now on, Trinar would use this space to guide Earth more comprehensively. Trinar told Earth that he could make him sleep during classes he found useless, so they could train more in the virtual world. Earth wondered if Trinar was part of the dream, and the demon confirmed that he was real. Because ever since he separated from the sword, his soul had been connected to Earth, so they would share the dream together. Earth sighed, remembering his original plan, that he wanted to use dream time to flirt with Sadith. However, Trinar explained that the reality in the dream couldn't be created without the imagination and knowledge of the original summoner. He emphasized that thoughts like Earth's had no place in his mind. Still, Trinar warned that this magic could be built so well that it would feel indistinguishable from reality. He told a story about a man who became trapped in a dream due to this magic, to the point where he could no longer return to reality. As a result, the man became useless, and his country fell into chaos and was eventually destroyed. This warning made Earth realize that, while dreams could bring power, they could also be a dangerous trap if not handled carefully. Trinar forbade Earth from using this technique alone, and the boy quickly agreed after hearing the demon's frightening story. Additionally, Trinar couldn't do much with his soul form, except for magic that began to emit from his hands, surrounding his body, leaving Earth in awe. Trinar explained that it was just magical energy radiating out and moving as if it had a life of its own. Earth was confused, not understanding this ability until Trinar started manipulating the energy, creating a swirling vortex. He called this special move the Great Devil Spiral Break, a name that Earth thought was as ridiculous as everything else Trinar had invented. However, Earth seemed to forget that Trinar could read his every thought, and his insult was clearly heard by the demon. Trinar remained silent, head bowed as if hurt, making Earth realize his mistake and hurriedly apologize, but it was too late. In a fit of rage, Trinar hurled a magical attack at Earth, sending him flying to the ground with a scream. Exhausted, Earth thought that if they kept going like this, he'd surely die. Trinar agreed, as the technique he'd just shown could turn anything into minced meat. Suddenly, a table appeared in front of Earth, and Trinar ordered him to sit down. A blackboard appeared right after that. Trinar wanted to ensure they both fully understood each other before continuing the training. He began explaining how the bodies of humans and demons handle magic. Each person has a reservoir of magic within them, where magic is stored and then released. He explained that sometimes this reservoir can have leaks, and the number of leaks greatly affects a person's magical strength. To illustrate, Trinar compared it to a water bag. If the bag has many holes, water will leak out more. Similarly, if someone has fewer holes in their magic reservoir, they can only use high-level magic on a small scale. But if they have more holes, it means they consume magic faster. Trinar explained that this was fine, as long as the person knew how to manage their magic consumption. Earth thought about this, realizing that both Fu and Fiancé had more magical leaks than he did, meaning they had a natural talent for magic. This made Earth realize that innate talent plays a big role in someone's magical power. Trinar drew on the board and told Earth that he only needed to increase the number of magic leaks he had, meaning the number of holes wasn't fixed but depended on how many closed leaks he could unlock. Earth was stunned, slamming his hand on the table and asking the demon how to open those leaks. With a serious expression, Trinar explained that the way to unlock magic leaks was acupuncture. Now, Earth saw an acupuncture set in front of him, and he asked Trinar if he really had to use it on himself. Trinar confirmed, saying there was no problem, as he had practiced using the needles on other things in his free time. Moreover, Trinar could use his sixth sense to feel the location of the hidden magic leaks and help Earth find them, and Trinar replied that it might, especially when the needle touches the spot between the nail and the skin. Immediately, Earth interrupted and quickly prepared to insert the needle, not wanting to hear any more frightening details. Trinar wanted Earth to open at least one magic leak that day. Earth hesitated, knowing he was facing a demon who could use terrifying levels of magic. He slowly brought the needle closer to his wrist, nervous about what would happen once it pierced. Earth took a deep breath, trying not to let his hands shake as he aimed the needle at a specific point on his wrist. Once he found the right spot, he acted without hesitation. However, the sensation Earth experienced was completely different from what he expected. His breathing grew heavy, and he began to sweat, feeling an intense sensation invade his arm, like needles piercing all over it. It felt as though a hot blade was slicing through his body. Traynor told him that he wouldn't call this pain, but the path to gaining magical power wasn't easy either. Tears streamed down Earth's face. And just at that moment, Sadith walked into the room, seeing him in such agony. Then, Earth slowly woke up in his bedroom with Traynor floating above him. He asked what happened, and Traynor explained that he couldn't endure the pain of opening the magic leak and had passed out. Sadith was the one who found him unconscious on the floor. Earth turned his head and saw Sadith sitting on a chair by his bed, sleeping peacefully. He remembered how well she had taken care of him all this time, and thought about how worried she must have been for him. However, Earth was quickly distracted by the soft sounds Sadith made while she slept. Earth quickly turned away with a flushed face, not wanting to do anything improper after Sadith had cared for him so much. However, he couldn't control himself. When tempted to sneak a peek under her skirt, at that moment Sadith suddenly spoke, knowing exactly what he was thinking, as she had caught him in the act. Earth jolted upright, realizing Sadith had been awake the entire time. She smiled, teasing him for trying to peek while she had been taking care of him non-stop. But the situation didn't end there. Sadith sat down on the bed, moved closer to Earth, and placed her hands on his face. Looking straight into his eyes, fully aware of what he wanted to do and see. However, the moment was interrupted when Earth's parents burst into the room to check if he was all right. His mother was about to use a healing spell on him until she realized what was happening between Earth and Sadith, leaving her bewildered by the scene. Sadith giggled and teased Earth, calling him shameful while he began shouting in embarrassment. His father scolded him, asking what he had made Sadith do while they were away. Earth's mother shook Sadith vigorously, worriedly asking if what she saw was true, and suggesting that she could find someone more deserving than Earth. Sadith simply replied that she was just teasing Earth, leaving him stunned, feeling as though everything had been a joke. Meanwhile, Traynor observed the situation and took note of the two who had entered the room. Earth's father, Hero, and his mother, warrior Mamu, one of the 7 heroes. The demon remarked that Mamu hadn't changed at all since the last time he saw her. But Earth thought his mother looked perfectly her age. Suddenly, Mamu slapped Earth, declaring that she knew he had just thought something disrespectful about her. Earth quickly asked his parents why they weren't at work, but his mother explained that they had rushed home as soon as they heard their son couldn't get up. Hero mentioned he was starting to feel hungry after everything that had just happened, prompting Sadith to offer to prepare dinner for the family. Mamu immediately jumped at the idea, excitedly running to the door, while Sadith quickly followed to help her prepare, since it had been years since they last cooked together. Now only Hero and Earth were left standing in silence. Neither knew what to say, and Earth felt the awkwardness of standing next to his father without anyone speaking. He didn't know how to start a normal conversation, especially after his parents had just witnessed such an embarrassing scene. Traynor reminded Earth that he had something he wanted to ask his father. Earth suddenly remembered and caught his father's attention, finally breaking the silence. He looked away, but still asked Hero why he had become a royal knight. Hero was surprised to hear Earth ask that out of nowhere, and Earth explained that he felt it was time for him to decide his future path. Hero looked up at the ceiling, pondering for a moment before beginning his story. He said that at first he just wanted to protect his friends and family, until his mother and his hometown village were nearly destroyed by monsters. The livestock in the fields were wiped out, and neighbors and their families were almost eaten alive. Hero's family was also in danger, but luckily someone special appeared. That person easily defeated the monsters and left without saying a word. To Hero, that person looked so cool as they walked away, and it was that person who made Hero decide to become an ally of justice. Hero admitted that his reason might seem too simple or just a childish dream, but the story was interrupted when Sadith and Mamu quietly entered the room, causing the conversation to pause. Earth began to feel a bit of respect for his father. Despite how simple and naive his dream was, he had still persisted in pursuing it and protecting peace in the world. As the family sat down for dinner, chatting happily, Earth drifted into thought. He had found his own goal, and finally he spoke up, declaring that he would do his best to win the graduation match. The whole family fell silent. Before his mother burst into laughter, both his father and mother said they would do everything they could to support him. However, this wasn't the reaction Earth had expected. His mother continued, explaining that his father was happy to see Earth's fighting spirit, and that he shouldn't feel bad if he lost. because they'd be proud knowing he tried. Earth didn't know how to respond, feeling as though his parents were saying he would definitely lose. He felt like they should understand all the effort he had put in. But then Earth recalled his defeat against Fiancé and realized his parents just thought he was still upset about that loss, and they didn't truly believe he had a clear goal like he had just said. Earth no longer felt like eating, something that didn't escape Sadith's notice. He stood up, told everyone he wasn't feeling well, thanked them for the meal, and quickly left the table. He walked down the hallway, which was gradually growing darker, while Trainer watched and asked if he was okay. Suddenly, Earth turned and demanded that the demon make him stronger. No matter what it took or what kind of training he had to endure, he wanted to prove to everyone that he could win. Trainer sensed Earth's determination, but reminded him that today and tomorrow were holidays. This confused Earth, until Trainer explained that overtraining would backfire, as the burden of opening a magic leak was immense. Tomorrow was also the day when something special would arrive at the bookstore. Earth remembered the book Trainer had begged him to buy. Trainer said he would spend the entire next day reading the book, while Earth would rest. After that, they would resume training, with only 50 days left until the graduation match. In the meantime, they prepared themselves for the big challenge ahead. Sadith had lost her family, and that day was the worst of her life. Even though Mamu had saved her since then, she hadn't known how to feel, trapped in an empty, lost state. Sadith was grateful to have met Earth. At first, she was just a servant to his family, until Earth's parents suggested she try taking care of him. When she held Earth's hand, Sadith felt like her life had changed. Meanwhile, Earth and Trainer arrived at the bookstore, and the demon was incredibly excited to get his hands on the next installment of a novel series he loved. In fact, this wasn't the first book Earth had bought for Trainer since they met. Earth had purchased many sequels of books published after Trainer's death. Earth didn't think he'd need to rent a cart to carry all the books back, but Trainer's enthusiasm made it impossible to refuse. With childlike, sparkling eyes, Trainer told Earth they had to start reading it immediately. They sat down on a park bench nearby, and Earth began pulling books out of the cart, ready for the reading session that the demon had been eagerly awaiting for so long. Trainer was mentally prepared to devour every book thoroughly, prompting Earth to ask if the demon was really against the culture of the race that killed him. Trainer countered, saying that culture had nothing to do with race, and that the real issue was the development gap between humans and demons. He argued that embracing influential technology was the key to growth. The demon commanded Earth to turn the pages for him and share his thoughts on each book. Time passed as Earth read the first page, while Trainer sat behind him, looking over his shoulder with a bored expression. Immediately, Trainer grew irritated, asking Earth why he was taking so long to read the page. Earth was shocked to learn that Trainer had finished the page in just 30 seconds, and the demon said he had read it 5 times in the time it took Earth to read it once. Earth asked if Trainer wanted him to turn the pages at his speed, and that he didn't need to finish the book. But Trainer disagreed. He said Earth's task was to discuss the book's contents with him after they both finished reading. Earth felt this was too much work, but Trainer insisted, saying he would teach him how to speed read so he could keep up with the demon's pace. Trainer explained that to do this, Earth needed to develop a skill called sharp vision. Earth was confused about what that meant until Trainer clarified, saying sharp vision was divided into 2 types: dynamic visual acuity and peripheral vision. Dynamic vision is the ability to track moving objects with the eyes, determined by the strength of the eye muscles and their movement speed. Earth asked if all of this was just for speed reading and what the purpose of developing this skill was. Trainer repeated that this ability wouldn't just help Earth read faster, but could also be applied in combat, allowing someone to dodge countless attacks, making it very useful on the battlefield. He then ordered Earth to look at the couple sitting on the other side of the park, to practice peripheral vision. As Earth tried to focus his gaze, Trainer continued instructing him on how to effectively train his eyesight. Trainer began asking Earth various questions about what was happening around the couple in the park, but Earth couldn't answer a single one, which Trainer had expected. He explained that peripheral vision is the ability to notice everything happening outside your direct line of sight. If Earth focused too much on one spot, his field of vision would narrow, and the rest would be ignored. Trainer went on to say that if Earth could focus on his opponent while still tracking their initial movements, he'd be able to gain control and take the advantage. This meant that Earth could train his vision and gain new skills he hadn't had before. Trainer called this skill Canon Nikon. It was at that moment that Earth realized, even though Trainer's training had seemed ridiculous at first, when combined with previous exercises, he had clear evidence that things were starting to work. What the demon said made perfect sense. Earth apologized for mocking him before, and asked Trainer what his next step should be. Trainer huffed proudly, and said the goal for today was to finish the entire novel he held in his hand before the day ended. This left Earth shocked, and he insisted it was impossible, but Trainer wouldn't accept any answer other than, "Yes, sir." Meanwhile, Sadith recalled her childhood, a time when she didn't feel she could trust anything in her life, especially while still dealing with family issues. Back then, she often had to hide things from her mother, treating it like a game. Her mother would go around town calling her daughter's name, wondering where her mischievous child was hiding, until she found her and chased after her with worry and frustration. Though Sadith couldn't remember many details, she still remembered living in a peaceful city with her mother and father, and as a child, she always thought she was happy. But that little girl didn't know what was truly happening behind the scenes of the city. At the Shisanotami underground facility, where blood stained the brick walls, Trainer was seen reading papers a scientist had just brought to him, finally learning about the ancient magic hidden in the city, and the forbidden arts that could destroy the entire continent. The demon called humans overly ambitious and tossed the papers into the air, saying they didn't understand the danger of these arts. The scientist interrupted the demon king, telling him to shut up, because those arts were humanity's last hope in defeating the demon army. The man grabbed Trainer by the hair, accusing him of lying. In fact, he intended to use these forbidden arts to destroy the demon army by selling them to the Empire and turning them into weapons of invasion. The cloaked man continued showing Trainer recordings of secret meetings, but the Demon King showed no interest in these arts. Normally, he would keep them as a reserve for his own army, but the arts the scientists possessed were too powerful and needed to be destroyed, along with anyone who had read them. Trainer raised his hand, absorbing magic into it, summoning the Devil Spiral spell, and obliterated a large part of the city as a warning to humanity. Meanwhile, Sadith was still being chased by her mother until the magic struck, making her turn back to witness the horrifying scene. Sadith jolted awake from the nightmare, gasping for breath after reliving her traumatic memories in just a few minutes. She gripped the broom tightly, trying to calm herself. Even though many years had passed, just a moment of distraction was enough to remind her of that cursed nightmare. A day when she felt as if she was going to vomit from fear. Sadith put the broom down and walked with difficulty to another part of the house. She opened a door, leading to a room kept secret from the entire family. Inside, framed pictures of Earth were hung along the walls. Capturing each year of his life, Sadith chuckled softly, her mind filled with thoughts of Earth, memories, and emotions rising powerfully. The images of Earth were enough to soften a hardened heart. Sadith was now a servant for the Reagan family after her hometown was destroyed by the Demon King's army. Mamu had saved her in the moment she was about to be killed. Originally, Sadith was meant to be sent to a refugee camp, but Mamu insisted that she would take care of and raise her. Sadith saw Mamu as an older sister, and she cherished her deeply. She felt a bit sad when Mamu married Hiro, but even after that, Hiro welcomed Sadith as a foster daughter. Sometime later, Sadith's life changed. When Hiro and Mamu had a child, they gave her the opportunity to hold the baby. And that baby was Earth, her adorable little brother. Even if not by blood, as Sadith held the child close in her arms, she felt a deep bond with the tiny boy. Sadith reflected on the new life she had gained, a life that opened up to her after losing her family. It was something she always wished to hold on to forever. She gazed at the small ribbon and the intricately crafted wooden box from the shop, which she had received from Earth when she graduated. Back then, the little boy had given her flowers, with his face bright red, shyly asking if she would leave the family after graduation. When Sadith saw the worry on Earth's face, she found it to be an adorable and precious moment. She wanted to tease him, even though she knew it wasn't right, just to make him flustered, enough to reveal the charming side of him that she found so special. However, she recalled how Earth had always been close to Fiancé since they were little. As she closed the box, Sadith knew that Earth was seen as a rival to Princess Fiancé, and everyone around them was aware of it. If things went smoothly, the children of the 7 heroes would marry each other. Something Sadith did not want to happen. The thought made her sad. Much like when Mamu married Hiro, a feeling she had experienced before, Sadith, like everyone else in society, had to send Earth off each day. As she watered the flowers in the garden, she thought about how Earth always defied societal expectations. She quietly wished he would look at her with that familiar gaze just one more time. Sadith sighed, knowing she would never be able to express these feelings to Earth. By chance, Earth walked through the gate and greeted her. She returned the greeting and started a conversation about the books he had bought. Sadith noticed the exhaustion and dark circles under Earth's eyes, which made her worry that something had happened during his shopping trip. Suddenly, a strong gust of wind swept through the area, blowing the scarf off the table. Sadith's maid dress billowed up, and she realized the situation would be very awkward for Earth. He suddenly rushed forward, surprising her, and with quick reflexes, he grabbed the scarf before it flew too far. Sadith's face turned bright red, caught off guard by Earth's action. She wasn't just surprised by how close he got, but also by the sharpness and agility he had just shown. Earth handed the scarf back to Sadith calmly, and she thanked him before he started to walk away, saying he'd read until dinner, and asking her to call him when the meal was ready. Sadith watched him, confused, wondering why Earth wasn't acting like he used to. He had politely grabbed the scarf instead of sneaking a peek at her like before. She thought maybe something was changing inside Earth that she hadn't noticed, but that was only part of the truth. In reality, he had used his peripheral vision to sneak a glance at Sadith's dress while seeming to focus on the scarf. Earth exhaled with confidence, proud of the usefulness of his new skill. However, Trainer reminded him that this power shouldn't be abused in that way, though the demon was still impressed by Earth's quick learning. Earth wasn't the slow learner many thought him to be, and this took Trainer by surprise. He could quickly learn the technique the demon had in mind, the Great Demon Evolution Breakthrough, meant to increase his chances of winning the upcoming battle. That match was only 49 days away, and those days would pass quickly. He looked up at the night sky, the bright moon shining down on the ground. Earth glanced at his hands, feeling the flow of magic coursing through his body. Trainer stood behind him, watching, and told him that he could now control his magic power steadily. The energy flowed through Earth's teenage body with ease, and he knew that the times he had vomited from opening the magic leaks had finally paid off. Although it took some time to fully realize the magic, it was now truly present. Trainer asked how Earth felt using the sample technique, and he replied that it was amazing. What he saw and heard felt natural, and he was surprised by the clarity of everything. It was time, one last time, for the two of them to face off. This would be the final training session. Between Earth and Trainer, both leapt from their positions and charged at each other. The phantom sparring felt like fighting an intangible spirit. Even if you attacked, no real damage could be done. Earth didn't feel like he was truly hitting anything, but with Trainer possessing the highest level of magical vision, and Earth having honed his own eyesight, it became easier to anticipate where the next attack would land. If Earth was still the boy he was 2 months ago, he would have been utterly defeated. But now, he no longer feared the prospect of death. Earth spotted an opening in Trainer's defense. He rushed in, preparing to throw a punch at the demon's face, but his confidence was quickly crushed. Trainer had already countered with a powerful uppercut, sending Earth crashing to the ground. Sitting on the grass, Earth looked up at the sky in stunned frustration. He still hadn't been able to land a hit, and once again he replayed the image of his defeat in his mind, beginning to believe that hitting Trainer might be impossible. Trainer, however, praised Earth for his impressive progress, admitting that Earth almost caught him off guard with the attack, even though it didn't cause any significant damage. Earth demanded another match, making Trainer laugh at his eagerness. The next day, Earth woke up and unexpectedly asked the demon why he wanted to destroy humanity. It wasn't the first time Earth had asked this question, but this time, Trainer sensed something different in the way Earth suddenly brought it up. He had been thinking about it for a while, and now felt it was time for a clear answer. Trainer turned away with a sorrowful expression, believing his reasons were something humans could never fully understand. Hundreds, perhaps thousands of years ago, in a time so distant that Trainer had almost forgotten, deep underground where sunlight never reached, a great war of chaos took place. Violence was the only ruler of that land, which was Trainer's homeland. When he was young, Trainer had an epiphany and harbored a dream. He wished to leave the demon realm and expand his world, a world with vast oceans, dense forests, warm sunlight, and diverse cultures and technologies. These were all things Trainer longed to witness. However, achieving that dream was far from easy. Every demon and monster wanted to escape, but humanity didn't want that. Each time monsters tried to emerge, humans sought to destroy them. The divide between the races grew deeper, and people's minds became twisted with hatred. Hundreds, perhaps thousands of years passed, and Trainer's purpose changed. He was no longer the being he once was. Before he realized it, he had become the terrifying demon king that everyone feared, but that was just a story of the past. Trainer sighed, wondering what had happened to the demon world after his death. Earth asked Trainer if humans had also done cruel things to other demons, and Trainer confirmed it. When war broke out, there were raids and acts of revenge. Both humans and demons committed immoral deeds. Even Trainer had done such things, and Earth quietly listened to the story. Earth recalled the tales he had heard about the brutality of the Demon King, but now he realized that Trainer had also been a victim of that very cruelty. Earth admitted that he wanted to visit the Demon Kingdom someday, surprising Trainer. Earth smiled and said he wanted to repay Trainer for becoming his disciple. He also wanted to explore different lands. Trainer asked if he was sure about this, and Earth confirmed that he would do it once he became a royal knight just like his father. Earth went on to explain that he realized he didn't need to follow his father's path. Trainer's idea of exploring the world sounded exciting, and Earth began to develop a similar desire. He didn't want to stay in his homeland forever. He wanted to conquer the world and grow stronger each day. Earth wanted to become a man who could go anywhere. And then, the big day arrived. Carriages lined the streets as people flocked to the grand arena, eagerly awaiting the match about to take place. Trainer was surprised to see a larger crowd than he expected, considering this was just a match between children. Earth explained that this year was special because it featured the children of the 7 heroes, and every year, many influential figures came to watch the matches. For that reason, Trainer believed this was the perfect opportunity for Earth. Earth wrapped his hands with bandages and stood up, ready for the Gagrok.